Life often unfolds in ways that feel both familiar and unpredictable, moving in gentle waves that carry us from one moment to the next. When we look closely at the ordinary details that surround us each day, we begin to notice patterns that were always there, quietly shaping the direction we take. The rhythm of daily routines, the subtle changes in the people around us, and even the passing of time itself all influence how we understand the world. Sometimes we only realize the importance of a moment long after it has passed, when we finally recognize how it connected to everything else. It's this interplay of small decisions and chance encounters that creates the narrative threads of our lives. Imagine taking a quiet walk through a familiar neighborhood. The streets may not have changed much, yet every time you walk them, they seem to offer something new. A dog barks from behind a fence, a child pedals a bicycle with unsteady determination, and the scent of a neighbor's cooking drifts across the sidewalk. None of these details seem remarkable on their own, but together they form a kind of living backdrop to your own thoughts. As you walk, you may find your mind drifting toward memories you hadn't meant to revisit, moments of joy, misunderstandings, ambitions you're still chasing. The walk becomes more than a physical movement from one place to another, it becomes a chance to reflect, recalibrate, and recognize what still matters to you. Reflection has a way of grounding us, especially when life feels uncertain. People often underestimate how much clarity can emerge simply from giving themselves time to observe. In a world full of noise and constant motion, quiet moments are easily overlooked, yet they offer some of the most meaningful opportunities to learn about ourselves. It's in these pauses that we often discover what we truly want, what fears we still hold, and what hopes we have yet to voice. We begin to understand that personal growth doesn't necessarily calm. Human experience is often described as a series of chapters, but it may be more accurate to imagine it as a long, unbroken thread weaving through countless moments, emotions, and discoveries. Each day adds a new strand, sometimes bright and joyful, other times tangled or subdued. Even so, the thread continues, shaped by the choices we make and the circumstances we encounter. What makes life compelling is not the perfection of its events but the way we interpret them, carry them, and grow from them. Every person learns, gradually, that meaning is not something handed to us, it is something we create through attention, intention, and reflection. There is a quiet power in noticing things. People rush from one obligation to the next, rarely pausing to absorb the details around them, yet it is precisely those details that give texture to our days. The warmth of morning light filtering through a curtain, the sound of rain tapping against a window, the laughter shared between friends during an ordinary conversation, these moments do not announce themselves as important, but they form the foundation of our internal landscape. When we learn to pay attention, life becomes more vivid, and even routine experiences begin to feel more connected and purposeful. Much of what we value is shaped by memory. Memories serve as guideposts, reminders of who we have been and hints of who we may become. They can comfort us in difficult times, offering reassurance that challenges have been overcome before. They can also complicate the present, carrying unresolved emotions or questions that we are still learning to face. But memory is rarely static, it evolves as we do. An event that once felt painful may later be understood as a turning point. A moment that seemed insignificant at the time may, in retrospect, be recognized as the beginning of something meaningful. Through memory, our past continues to speak to us, urging us toward clarity, compassion, and sometimes forgiveness, the relations. Significant role in shaping our lives. People enter our orbit for various reasons, some stay, some drift away, some return after long absences. Each interaction, no matter how brief, influences us in ways we may not fully grasp. A teacher's encouragement might spark a lifelong passion. A friend's loyalty might help us rediscover trust. Even disagreements can open our eyes to perspectives we had not considered. As we move through life, we gradually learn that meaningful connections require patience, empathy, and a willingness to listen. True understanding grows not from perfection but from the desire to show up for one another with honesty and care. Still, personal growth is often forged in solitude. There are times when we must step back from the noise of the world and sit quietly with our own thoughts. Solitude can be uncomfortable, especially for those who fear what they might uncover within themselves. Yet solitude is also a place of transformation. It allows us to hear our own voice more clearly, to differentiate between external expectations and internal truth, and to understand our motivations without distraction. In these moments of introspection, we begin to see the patterns that shape our behavior, the dreams we have neglected, and the fears we have allowed to linger too long. Recognizing these truths is the first step toward meaningful change. Change itself is a constant force, sometimes gentle and gradual, other times abrupt and overwhelming. People often resist it because it threatens familiarity, but without change, growth becomes impossible. Learning to adapt does not mean surrendering control, it means trusting that we are capable of navigating uncertainty. Over time, we discover that resilience is not merely about enduring difficulties but about emerging from them with deeper insight. Strength is built not only through success but through the willingness to keep moving forward despite setbacks. The ability to remain present is one of the most valuable skills we can cultivate. When we immerse ourselves fully in the current moment, worries about the future lose some of their intensity, and regrets from the past loosen their grip. Being present allows us to appreciate the subtleties of experience, how a conversation feels, how a meal tastes, how a quiet afternoon settles the mind. This presence is not about ignoring responsibilities but about allowing life to unfold with greater awareness and appreciation. In the end, each person's journey is a unique blend of challenges, joys, discoveries, and quiet revelations. There is no definitive map to follow, no universal timeline to meet. What matters most is the willingness to engage with life earnestly, to learn from both the gentle moments and the difficult ones, and to continue weaving the thread of our story with intention and curiosity. Every life is a collection of stories that unfold gradually, often without our full awareness of how meaningful they will become. We move through conversations, decisions, emotions, and routines as if they are temporary, yet so many of them linger within us long after the moment has passed. What we often forget is that the smallest experiences can leave the deepest impressions, shaping the way we see ourselves and the world. There is something quietly profound about recognizing how these fragments accumulate over time, forming a personal history that is uniquely ours and impossible to replicate. Consider an ordinary morning when nothing seems particularly notable. You wake up, stretch, and go about the usual tasks that start your day. The floor is cool under your feet, the scent of coffee begins to drift through the room, and the light outside shifts from gray to gold. These details might feel unremarkable, yet they are part of the tapestry of your existence, grounding you in a reality that is constantly changing. They remind you that the world keeps moving, even on days when you feel stuck or uncertain. The comfort of routine provides a sense of stability, a quiet reassurance that some things remain steady even as you evolve. People often underestimate how important these simple consistencies can be. When challenges arise, it is not always grand gestures or dramatic breakthroughs that help us move forward. More often, it is the familiar rhythm of daily life that pulls us through. A friend's voice on the phone, a shared meal, a walk at dusk, these small acts of normalcy create space for healing. They give us a chance to breathe, to step outside the weight of our worries, and to feel connected to something larger than our immediate circumstances. In this way, the ordinary becomes a source of strength. Of course, life is not composed solely of peaceful moments. At times, uncertainty casts a long shadow, making it difficult to trust the path ahead. Everyone eventually encounters situations that force them to question their assumptions, reevaluate their priorities, and confront fears they would rather ignore. These periods of discomfort are challenging, but they also reveal our capacity for resilience. In the midst of confusion, we learn how to adapt. In the presence of fear, we discover courage we didn't know we had. And when we feel lost, we often find unexpected clarity in places we never thought to look. It is during these turbulent times that the influence of others becomes especially powerful. The people who stand beside us in silence, who listen without judgment, who encourage us without pressure, these are the individuals who help us endure. Their presence does not magically remove our struggles, but it reminds us that we do not have to face them alone. This sense of connection, whether through deep relationships or brief encounters, adds a layer of meaning to our experiences. It reminds us that humanity is a shared journey, full of overlapping stories that occasionally touch one another in profound ways. Yet, some of the most transformative realizations emerge when we are alone. Solitude invites reflection, and reflection invites honesty. When we take time to sit quietly with our thoughts, we begin to recognize truths that may have been hidden beneath the noise of daily life. We might discover a dream we abandoned too quickly or an emotional wound we never allowed ourselves to acknowledge. We might suddenly understand why certain patterns repeat or why certain choices weigh heavily on us. This kind of introspection is not always comfortable, but it is essential for growth. It allows us to align our actions with our values and to move forward with a clearer sense of purpose. As we navigate the ongoing flow of life, we learn that meaning is not something we find once and hold forever. It shifts as we grow, shaped by our experiences, relationships, and inner evolution. What mattered deeply at one stage of life may become less significant later, and something overlooked for years may suddenly take on profound importance. This fluidity is not a weakness but a reflection of our capacity to adapt and expand. Ultimately, life is a balance of stillness and motion, simplicity and complexity, certainty and mystery. We move through it piece by piece, moment by moment, crafting a story that is always in progress. Even when we feel uncertain about the direction we are heading, we can take comfort in knowing that each step contributes to a broader narrative, one that is rich, layered, and entirely our own.